In the pre-dawn hours of June 12, 2025, as the first light kissed the horizon, a day that would forever alter the geopolitical landscape was about to begin. The Middle East's uneasy calm, a fragile peace built on years of tense negotiations and unspoken agreements, was abruptly and violently shattered. A series of coordinated and devastating attacks targeted Iran's highly sensitive nuclear program, sending shockwaves across the region and the globe. Unlike previous instances of cyber-sabotage and covert operations, which had become almost commonplace, this was a brazen and direct military strike, a meticulously planned and executed operation utilizing sophisticated weaponry. This act marked a significant escalation in the long-simmering shadow war, a dangerous gamble that stunned the world and threatened to plunge the region into chaos. Explosions rocked key nuclear sites, sending plumes of smoke and debris into the sky, bypassing Iran's formidable and usually impenetrable air defenses with unnerving ease, and exposing critical vulnerabilities at the very heart of the Iranian regime's security apparatus. Satellite images, quickly followed by grainy mobile phone footage shared across social media, showed thick plumes of smoke billowing over the Natanz facility, a key uranium enrichment site, and the Fordo facility, buried deep underground, also appeared to have sustained significant damage. The news sent immediate shockwaves through global markets, triggering a frantic scramble in diplomatic circles as leaders tried to understand the implications. The implicit message? No site, no matter how heavily fortified or deeply concealed, is truly untouchable. Oil prices soared to record highs within hours of the attack, and world leaders scrambled to convene emergency meetings, desperately trying to assess the full extent of the fallout, and more importantly, to find a way to prevent a wider, more devastating conflict from erupting. The attacks effectively tore up the unwritten rules and delicate protocols that had governed covert engagement and proxy wars for decades. This brazen act raised the terrifying specter of a full-scale regional war, a conflict that could draw in multiple nations and destabilize the entire world. For the Iranian people, already struggling with economic hardship and political repression, the strikes were a profound blow to national pride, and a stark and painful reminder of their nation's increasingly precarious and isolated position on the global stage. State media, predictably, issued fiery vows of retaliation against the aggressors, promising a swift and decisive response. But beneath the bluster and nationalistic rhetoric, a palpable sense of vulnerability and deep anxiety began to take hold within the Iranian leadership and among ordinary citizens alike. The shadow war, once fought in the shadows with deniable operations and covert actions, had now erupted into open and undeniable confrontation. And the long-term consequences of this dramatic escalation were only just beginning to unfold, like a series of dominoes toppling one after another. The world now faced a dangerous and unpredictable new reality, one where the threat of large-scale conflict loomed larger than ever before. The operation, meticulously planned and executed, began in the shrouded hours before dawn. It unfolded with chilling precision across key strategic locations within Iran, a symphony of destruction orchestrated with cold, calculated efficiency. At precisely 2:15 a.m., the Natanz fuel enrichment plant, a cornerstone of Iran's nuclear program, was struck with devastating force. This initial strike was swiftly followed by a series of secondary explosions, meticulously targeting its underground centrifuges, the very heart of uranium enrichment. Within the hour, the Fordo facility, buried deep within a mountain, seemingly impervious to attack, was also struck with pinpoint accuracy. This was a feat once thought impossible, a testament to the attackers' advanced capabilities and intelligence gathering. Simultaneously, and with equal ferocity, the Arak heavy water plant was attacked, crippling a crucial component of Iran's nuclear ambitions. This strike effectively crippled Iran's plutonium pathway, significantly hindering their ability to develop nuclear weapons. By 4:30 a.m., the scope of the operation expanded beyond nuclear facilities. A military base located near Isfahan, this base, known to be housing key IRGC drone and missile units, was also systematically targeted and neutralized. The attackers aimed not just to inflict physical damage on nuclear infrastructure, but also to cripple Iran's command and control capabilities. This was done to effectively neutralizing its ability to coordinate a response or launch a retaliatory strike. The sheer coordination, precision, and reach of these simultaneous strikes pointed unmistakably to a sophisticated state-level actor with significant resources and intelligence capabilities. As dawn broke over the ravaged landscape, the true scale of the devastation became chillingly clear. This was not a mere act of sabotage. This was a calculated and comprehensive campaign designed to deliver a crippling blow to Iran's nuclear ambitions, setting their program back years, if not decades. The region's delicate balance of power had irrevocably shifted overnight, ushering in an era of uncertainty and heightened tensions. The strikes weren't just about facilities, they sent a direct warning to Iran's leadership. Intelligence suggests a high-level security meeting was targeted near Isfahan, possibly aiming at top officials like Dr. Reza Ardakhanian, head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization. Though Ardakhanian appeared unharmed on state TV, the proximity of the attack was a chilling reminder of past assassinations. The IRGC, led by Major General Hossein Salami, was also hit, undermining its image as the regime's shield. The real target, the credibility of Supreme Leader Khamenei, exposing the regime's vulnerability and forcing a high-stakes decision on how to respond. Iran's leadership now faced a crisis of confidence and legitimacy. Iran's nuclear program is more than a technical project. It's a symbol of sovereignty, scientific pride, and resistance to Western pressure. Sites like Natanz and Fordo are national icons, woven into the country's identity and future aspirations. The regime frames nuclear advancement as essential for energy security and economic independence, justifying hardship as sacrifice for a greater cause. The attack struck at the heart of this narrative, threatening not just infrastructure, but the nation's sense of purpose. Strategically, the program is Iran's ultimate deterrent, a hedge against hostile neighbors and global powers. The June 12th strikes aimed to strip Iran of this shield, exposing it to existential risk. For many Iranians, the assault felt like an attack on their very future. Tehran quickly blamed Israel, calling the attacks nuclear terrorism and citing the operation's sophistication as proof. Israel, true to form, neither confirmed nor denied involvement, but off-the-record officials hinted at a preemptive strike to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran. The US denied direct involvement, though intelligence sharing with Israel raised questions about possible support. Some speculated about domestic dissidents aiding the operation, but the scale and technology pointed overwhelmingly to a state actor, almost certainly Jerusalem. The attack's precision and ambition bore all the hallmarks of Israeli strategy. The world was left to pass official denials and cryptic statements, but the message was clear. The shadow war had a new, unmistakable aggressor. The global response was swift and anxious. The UN and EU condemned the attacks, warning of catastrophic risks and urging restraint. The US walked a diplomatic tightrope, denying involvement, reaffirming its opposition to a nuclear Iran, but calling for calm. Russia and China condemned the strikes as reckless provocations, demanding emergency UN action and warning of dangerous precedents. Gulf Arab states issued cautious statements, torn between relief at Iran's setback and fear of regional escalation. Behind closed doors, diplomats raced to prevent a spiral into war. The attacks left allies and adversaries alike on edge, uncertain of what would come next. The world was now watching Tehran's every move. The June 12th attacks, a series of calculated strikes, sent shockwaves throughout the Middle East. The immediate aftermath was chaos and uncertainty. These attacks pushed an already volatile Middle East to the very brink of wider conflict. Decades of simmering tensions threatened to boil over. In the wake of the strikes, Iran's leaders found themselves facing intense domestic and international pressure. The demand for a response was deafening. The question became how to retaliate without risking a dangerous cycle of escalation. A miscalculation could easily engulf the entire region in a devastating war. Ironically, these strikes, intended to curb Iran's nuclear program, may inadvertently accelerate Iran's nuclear ambitions, pushing them further down a path towards acquiring nuclear capabilities. This situation is fueling hardliners' arguments, giving them more ammunition to advocate for a nuclear deterrent at any cost. As a result, the program will likely be pushed deeper underground, making it even harder to monitor and potentially more dangerous. And with international inspectors potentially expelled or their access severely restricted, the dash for a bomb becomes less a question of if it will happen and more a question of when. The timeline is shrinking. The attacks have shattered the illusion of security surrounding these facilities. emboldening other nations in the region to consider preemptive strikes as a viable option. This creates a dangerous precedent, igniting a new and destabilizing arms race across the Middle East. The long-standing international norms against targeting nuclear sites, even suspected ones, have been dangerously eroded, weakening the global non-proliferation regime. The world must now watch with bated breath for Iran's response. Will it be a direct attack, a proxy war waged through regional militias, or a period of intense diplomatic maneuvering aimed at de-escalation? However, any sign of weapons-grade uranium enrichment, a clear violation of international agreements, could very well trigger an even larger and more devastating conflict, pulling in multiple nations. The coming days are fraught with peril. The stakes could not be higher. The choices made in Tehran, Jerusalem, and Washington will ultimately decide the region's fate, and potentially the fate of global security. The nuclear clock is ticking faster than ever, and the world holds its breath.